Hey there, today I wanted to make a BTR video. I'm not sure how many people really need these BTR videos, but as you can see here, we have Baixiang and Sekiri on first team because it is the teddy bear, so we can just eat the teddy bear once she spawns. Let's get right into it. I mean, you can see my standard team here without limited characters. It's nothing special, it's what you would expect from no limited team. I don't really do like perfect rotation or anything, you know, I just kind of rolled with it and cleared. BTR isn't like that comp or that hard right now that you need a perfect rotation. Of course, I still use Baixiang dodge attack and stuff like that, but I'm not like super sweaty quick swapping with Daffodil or anything like that between Baixiang's attack. I don't do anything of that, I just use her ult and skill and then maybe swap her in on parries sometimes, but that's all I really do. I don't do anything crazy. Here we kind of want to kill the tin soldiers first, so we can securely eat the bear. Since the tin soldiers die so fast, you just want to focus on them. And then once they're dead, you can just securely eat the bear, which makes this floor really easy. Unfortunately, this is on floor 8 and not on floor 10. I really prefer this bear being on floor 10, so you have one easy stage on floor 10. But, whoop, you just eat it and then you go next stage. It's really simple. You can see my chess team setup here. I think it's pretty standard chess team. There isn't too much to talk about. You want grouping with G1 and then Mint for a bit of extra ult damage. And besides that, you just want MC for the Blossom procs for a bit of extra damage. I haven't really optimized UN and everything completely, and my chess is level 9 skills. You can still get to level 10 skills, but I mean, it's like small details that doesn't matter too much for clearing right now. Obviously, in the future, maybe we'll have to mid-max completely to actually clear, but currently you just need to be good enough. And I'm not really shredding rotation or anything too crazy either, and it's pretty easy to clear as long as you know what you're doing and what buffs to use, then you should be fine. Even though this BTR buff isn't that great for Baixiang, at certain spots it's still easily clearable right now. There has been better buffs for Baixiang than the current one, but the current one is pretty good overall. It's not that great for chess, but it's also fine for chess, so it's an okay BTR. The mobs weren't too bad in this BTR, personally. I mean, floor 10 or I think floor 11 was a little bit annoying, but wasn't too bad. Floor 12 you have some annoying mobs, but the mobs aren't like crazy or anything either. So, it was okay. There's worse bosses to fight. Floor 9 is 2 bosses, which is pretty easy. We're gonna swap Chiss and Baixiang, because the first boss has both Anima and Cosmo weakness, so we get a little bit of extra damage on Mint, G1 and our Blossom procs doing it this way, which is really nice. Otherwise, it doesn't matter really too much. Obviously, if you are using limited characters, you can probably clear this with one character on all the stages, but it might require pretty good gear to do that, but it shouldn't be an issue to clear this with limited characters at all with the current stage of the game. I don't think there's too much to really mention here, other than just make sure you get the parries on Baixiang instead of dodging the parries, and then you can swap into Daffodil for Scorch proc, and then hopefully the boss does 2 parries in a row. If it's one of the bosses that does 2 parries in a row, you can parry with Daffodil straight away as well, and then you can do a Discord. Otherwise, if you do see the parry and you have the reaction time, you can swap into Daffodil and then parry the boss with Daffodil, as she gets massive damage and stat boost from parrying, and then you can swap into Baixiang for the Scorch proc. And if you already have Scorch proc, just do Hanel for the Discord, which will help a bit breaking the boss. And of course, on the Daffodil team, you just want to run Zakiri, Hanel, and Daffodil with full break setup. As long as you have break on them, it's fine. You don't really care about cycle intensity, as it's just a slight bonus, not really like mandatory or most of your damage. While on Chiss team, you would want to actually have cycle intensity on MC, because MC is doing all the Blossom procs almost, and then you might want cycle intensity on Mint if you can, otherwise it doesn't really matter too much. The Blossom you get from Chiss to Mint isn't that often, so it's not a huge damage increase. I usually start with Daffodil ult, and you can see here I mess up. This boss is really annoying because he actually doesn't spawn right away, so you have to wait while Daffodil ulting until he's actually spawned. If you Daffodil right away, he won't get the debuff. As you can see in the top HP bar, you can see the buff when you hit him with Daffodil ult, so you just have to wait a little bit, which is kind of annoying. There's some bosses like that. In these cases, you might want to use Hanel at the start, because Hanel can use the buffs, so you save like 1 second of time while you wait for the buff to spawn. The same happens on Debt Collector as well, which is just really annoying. But this video is gonna be pretty long, like most BTR videos. They take quite a while to clear with no limited. If you do like a limited run, you might get like 1 to 2 minute clear per floor, and then it will only be like 10 something minute video. But when you have like 3 to 5 minute clears, it becomes way over 20 minutes, unfortunately. If I just did, I could do limited character clear with my free-to-play account if you want to see those. I don't know which you guys prefer, if you want no limited characters clear or limited characters clear. I can do either one, honestly, whichever one people prefer. I might in a comment and ask, and you can reply to that one. But I'm not sure people will watch this far, you know. I don't think I'll yap for 23 minutes straight either, as there's really not that much to talk about. So I'll probably just cue the gameplay and then mute from here, and then see you once the BTR is done, I guess. So floor 10 is when we're gonna start using buffs for the floors, just to make it easier to clear, because there's no reason not to use the buffs. Usually I use the worst buff first. I prefer using the increased team damage on my Baishang team, and then I use the 2 yellow ones on the Chiss team. This one I usually go with first is the HP one, since the Mark 1 doesn't work on AoE floors, so I saved the Mark 1 for boss, and then I use the HP one on AoE floors for Chiss, which is usually floor 10. If there's a boss someday on floor 10, I'll probably use the Mark on floor 10 and then save the HP one for floor 11, but that's about it for the boss for floor 10.
The silence is killing me. I need to hear the only voice that I thought was real to me. Do we run out of time or do we grow tired? Were we young and in love or were we both lying? I'm dying slowly inside, so I turn to these beats to take me on a ride. Dropping fast, now everything's looking slow. I'm pushing into the limit with the pedal to the flow. Physically you were there, but your heart wasn't. I drink a few glasses of wine and you start fussing. You couldn't see the pain I had in my eyes, trying to pick up the pieces. I felt the truth of your lies, but I kept it inside, holding on, just hoping we could survive. Cause the same thing that was killing me was keeping me alive. This isn't how our story is supposed to be. The little hope we have left now means the most to me.
I gave you everything, and you gave it all away. What can I do when there's nothing left to say? You were everything I was, and everyone I am.
Yeah.
Is this the
After a
end?
while, nothing was ever did everything you asked, and I'm still the one to blame. I admit I was a fool, forever making you sad. What matters is good moments outweighing all the bad. I know you still remember all of that. When I left but came back, we made love that night. I never boarded that flight, cause it never felt right being distant. And was it worth losing you over? I couldn't risk it. Something told me you needed me more. Tears of joy when you opened the door. As rain poured from the dark sky, I held you close. I realized what I needed the most. And God knows, how can something last so long and be gone in an instant? I wish that you could just please stay strong. With every moment you're gone, I'm losing my breath. I can't lose the only person I have left.
I gave you everything, and you gave it all away. What can I do when there's nothing left to say? You were everything I was, and everyone I am.
If I can't lose the only person I have left.
Then for floor 11 buffs, I usually use the other gold one, and then I use attack on Baishang, because I think attack is the second best buff, and we only have one floor after this. And I will take the Mark 1 for the boss. As I said on the previous floors, the HP 1 doesn't work on, or the Mark 1 doesn't work on AoE floors, but the HP 1 does, so I saved the Mark 1 for the bosses. And you can see here, I just start my rotation, and then once I use Mint ult, I'll proc the buff for all the ults to get that bonus damage, and that's basically it. Just proc it right before you do your ults for the most uptime on the buff. Don't proc it right at the start when you're using MC Esper Cycle. You can, but I prefer not to. And then obviously Baishang has just the attack increase because it's the second best buff, and it doesn't really work for Chess, so I'd like to put it on him. For floor 12, I will use the best buff available, which I think is the elemental damage one. I don't use the solo buff anymore on the chess team. I know some people might still use it, but if you have a full team setup, I don't think it's stronger to use the solo buff than the elemental buff. Regardless, if you are gonna use the solo buff, it would be on floor 10. In either floor 10 or floor 11, you would never use it on 12 unless you're running solo chess the entire way through. That's the only time you will use it on floor 12 if you're really running solo chess. Otherwise, you'll use the elemental buff on floor 11 if you are running solo chess. But at this point, I don't think you should be running solo chess anymore unless you're just trying to challenge yourself. But that's basically all for the buffs for every stage. That will be the last voiceover for this video. So hope you enjoy and hope these few tips helped you out, and hope to see you next time.
We tried all there is to try. I'm not gonna let you fall this time. Let me hold you. I won't let anybody hurt you. distant moment crashes down as our memories collide.